Shabbat Shalom. Did you know that Moshe had 10 names? A midrash teaches that he was known as 10 names, and they are Yered, Hever, Yekutiel, Avigdor, Avisocho, Avizanoch, Tuvia, Shemaiah, Levi, and Moshe. But why do we know him as Moshe? The midrash says that God refers to him as Moshe because that is what Batya, who was Pharaoh's daughter, called him. Now, we all probably are known as many names. We all have nicknames, and yet to the general public, like Moshe, we're known by one thing. This is true for myself. You probably don't know that my actual name is Liliana, but I never go by that. You also don't know that some of my nearest and dearest call me Ani, which is a play on the last part of my name. And most recently, this one you do know, I've added a new prefix to Lily, Rabbi. You and I have a very special and frankly very vulnerable relationship between us, me being your assistant rabbi and you being my community that watched my final moments of formation into becoming a rabbi. You know me as Lily, and now you know me as Rabbi. You've watched my name change. And you know me as I have straddled the line between Lily and Rabbi. And in that transition, many of you have kindly asked me the most obvious question: what should I call you? A name is sort of a fence or a railing around ourselves, our inner selves, our hopes, our dreams, our secrets, our stories, our trauma, and more are all wrapped up in how we're called. Behind our name is who we are. Stories upon stories and years of coming to be who we are today. Every single piece of ourselves unfolds behind our name. It's the container of our individuality. It's our choice whether we open the gates to others to learn our stories, whether they get to learn the intricacies, twists, and turns that are behind our names and pave our lives. It's up to us when we open our mouths to tell our stories, and our mouth is the gate to ourselves, the way we open the fences within us. And often, that gate is unlocked when we call each other by our names. So back to the question, and the job of me as a rabbi, I'll answer it by looking to the Torah. Ki Tetzei, our Torah portion this week, presents an interesting paradigm about building a fence around a rooftop so that someone else who climbs on your roof does not fall. Now, I have never presided over a construction project myself, but I imagine we're not telling our contractors to open up the Torah to figure out the building code for how to build our roofs. So why does our Torah ask us to build this railing, which the Torah calls in English a parapet? We read, Ki tivneh bait chadash v'asita ma'akeh legagecha v'lo tasim damim beveitecha ki yipol hanofel mimenu. When you build a new house, you shall make a parapet for your roof, so that you do not bring blood guilt on your house if anyone should fall from it. Rashi tells us that the ma'akeh, the parapet, is a fence around the roof. And the word ma'akeh can also be translated as a casing, which guards anything that's within it. In essence, Rashi thinks this law emphasizes the responsibility of preventing potential harm. We might think, of course we would prevent potential harm if somebody else were to climb on our roof. But this law is actually an essential elucidation of other broader laws in the Torah, like do not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. It's not just that we don't perpetuate sins against each other, like pushing our neighbor off the roof, but we must proactively protect against the danger by building a fence around the roof that our neighbor might fall off of. The purpose of the ma'akeh is to prevent harm and to protect life by taking proactive measures. Then I might ask to the Torah, why specifically a fence? Here, our Jewish legal thinkers have some answers, like Rambam and Sefer HaChinuch, who say that the roof was used as a commonly understood example to illustrate the great care we should take in protecting others from any hazards. In non-commentator language, the laws of the ma'akeh, or the parapet, can teach us the importance of boundaries. The mitzvah of ma'akeh, in the broader legal understanding, reflects a value that we still hold dear today. We value creating a safe and inclusive community. We value instituting appropriate boundaries where each of our members' needs are visible and addressed. The first step we can take in creating inclusive spaces is by addressing people by their preferred names and titles, recognizing and respecting that our name is the key to who we are. And we are so privileged to hold each other's key. Rabbeinu Bachya teaches that the laws of the ma'akeh symbolize a deep embracing of all that is within the fence. Therefore, we must enclose anything treasured into a fence so it doesn't separate and disintegrate into parts. Here's a little fun fact about the word ma'akeh, actually another word for a fence in Hebrew called gag-cha. It has the numerical value of the letters of God's four-letter name. Both add up to the number 26. This drove the Kabbalists crazy. They thought that this match in Gematria should tell us that we should have a railing around ourselves to prevent ourselves from letting disruptive things come into our lives. Our roof gives us direct access to God, and our access to God needs to be safely guarded. So this gag-cha, this number 26 word, I would say is what we refer to as boundaries of our lives. We use boundaries to define our personal work, our lives, our personal lives, our relationships to our families and friends. We erect railings around ourselves to protect ourselves. And it's our choice when and how we let those railings down. Our names, in essence, provide boundaries for us. We choose who calls us what. We allow people to call us by nicknames or by family names like mom, dad, saba, savta. We may even sometimes allow loved ones to choose nicknames for us. As you see, a simple question, what should I call you, is actually a deep question of identity. It's also intrinsically related to the laws of the ma'akeh, as my name is simply a fence to accessing me as your rabbi. So here's my attempt at an answer, and before I go into it, I must note that each option is a correct and viable option. Many rabbis build a firm ma'akeh around their names. These are the rabbis you have always called rabbi last name. There are often gendered assumptions around rabbi last name, and those assumptions are that rabbi last name is probably male. There are a few reasons why Rabbi Schwartzman is not the one-size-fits-all answer to your question. Here's one reason. If you run into me at Giant, or the most frequent place I run into people, which is the Whole Foods Amazon return line, I am both your rabbi, but at that moment, I'm just as much a resident of Lower Merion as you are. When a rabbi is strictly called by their last name, I think the ma'akeh is pretty high. The key to unlock that gate is pretty hard to find. But there may be times in our relationship where you need this ma'akeh, and times where you do not. Other rabbis build a potentially shorter ma'akeh and choose to go by rabbi first name. In educational and religious settings, I do firmly go by Rabbi Lily, and that's for the pedagogical purpose of children understanding who the rabbis in this shul are. There are many children in our community, though, that do know me as Lily. And I know that within that, they also know I'm a rabbi. I think it's so beautiful, and I'm thrilled that some of our young ones find this amount of comfort and facility around rabbinic figures in their lives. It's really touching. Most uncommonly, rabbis go by their first name. Though in this community, with so many rabbis, it's actually quite a common occurrence. My number one goal in being one of your rabbis is to be accessible, to make Jewish life seem attainable and close to you. Though our relationship is first and foremost one of a rabbi and a congregant, our relationship is also so much greater than that. We are Jewish souls in this world working towards a better, more whole, and just society. Some of us do that as rabbis, and some of us do that as lay leaders. Both are equally holy, and both categories of people have first names. Our names are the keys to our stories, ourselves, and our souls. I do not wish to build a ma'akeh so high that we cannot know each other deeply. Rabbeinu Bachya taught us that we must enclose anything treasured to us within a fence, so that the parts that make up the sum of our whole do not get lost. So to answer your question definitively, saying, please call me Rabbi Schwartzman, or please call me Rabbi Lily, or never call me Lily, is to give in to Rabbeinu Bachya's warning. It's true that all of you knew me as Lily, and I'm still Lily, though I am now officially a rabbi. It's also true and inevitable that over the coming years, I will serve functions as your rabbi, as I am right now, delivering this sermon. But at Kiddush, you might have a question for me as your rabbi, or you might want to ask whether our dogs can play at the park tomorrow. The answer is almost always a yes. And in those cases, I give you permission to address me as you see best fit. Now, this isn't just about the title of rabbi, because all of us have many titles in the room. It could be doctor or not doctor, mom or ima, saba or grandpa, professor or not, more or Mrs. Names change, but our inner selves stay the same. Our names, especially when one is given a name that connotes an amount of power, as Rabbi does, can build higher fences between each other. But what I don't want is the fence between us to be so high that you feel your rabbi is unattainable. And for myself, I don't want to lose the parts of myself that most equate to Lily, rather than Rabbi Schwartzman. Shabbat Shalom.